Hello, everyone. It is so nice to have a wonderful guest today. I have been looking forward to having her, and I finally have her on this podcast, and it's such a joy to have her. So today, I'm so happy to have the beloved Dr. Nsa Henshaw. Dr. Henshaw, welcome.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I know you have a very hectic schedule, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you do?
Absolutely. So, as you had introduced, my name is Nsa Henshaw, and I actually was born in Nigeria, in a small town, the southeast of Nigeria,
Mhm.
called Calabar. I did my training there, up through medical school, actually. And I moved to the United States to do my residency program after getting married, and after that, I started working in a community health center, the Dot House Health, where I continue to work right now.
Mhm.
I have three children, two girls and a boy, and currently I work in the urgent care section at the Dorchester House.
Wonderful. So, you have an immigrant background. You say you did your studies in Nigeria. What is it that prompted you to move to the United States?
Actually, that's a very interesting question because I get asked that a lot.
Yes.
I tell people that I never imagined that I would live in the United States. I never desired or ever wanted to live in the United
Oh,
States. I
really?
actually, oh yeah, outside of Nigeria, but actually got married. That's what brought me here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it was life that
It
brought
was
me to
life.
the United
Okay.
States. Yeah, I visited a lot as a child, but never
Hmm.
imagined I would live here. Yeah.
So is your husband Nigerian as well?
My husband is Nigerian. He went to school here and stayed on after.
And so you love brought you to the United States. Okay.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
what is it that really led you to pursue medicine?
Yes, so my my introduction to medicine, I want to say when I think about it, actually came from my dad in my early
Mm,
years. My early years. I am the only girl of five children, from
mm,
my mom. So a little bit very special to my dad, obviously. So I just remember that I mean, those early days, he would say, "Oh, you will make a good doctor, and you'll take care of me." Like
I
any
know.
father would say.
Hmm.
So that was my early introduction,
Hmm.
to that. But then, as I grew up, and the other thing that I think kind of steered my path was that I well, my parents were, working parents, and my grandmother would take care of us
Hmm.
when they were out of town or busy. So she raised me, and she played a great role in my life. But
Hmm.
as I grew up, I think through high school, I she was I noticed that she was sick, She
Hmm.
had diabetes, she had high blood pressure, and as I went through high school, she just had all these complications from these illnesses.
Hmm.
That she ended up dying anyway from
Um,
it. So for me, I think at that time I was like, wow, I became a little bit older, began to understand the role of these illnesses in people's lives, and in my mind, I realized that my grandmother had no idea,
mhm.
that these things were serious enough to be taken care of, or just not aware. So I think that just watching her go through all of that,
Mhm.
and even when I graduated, she was too sick to attend my graduation.
Oh,
Yeah, so I felt like if I had more knowledge, if I was able to make a better impact on her life, she would have had more years with me,
right.
seen a
Yeah.
lot. So I
Mhm.
think that seeing that, that close, kind of steered my path. So by the time at the end of high school, uh, I kind of
You had it
made a
figured out.
decision,
Yeah.
yeah, that I was going to go to med school. But I have to say that going to medical school, I don't think that I always tell people this. I don't think I was that type A student who was
Mm-hmm.
excellent in math and
Mm-hmm.
excellent in everything in sciences. I actually struggled with physics and math in school, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew what I wanted to do. So
Right.
I had to give it 110%. And I did okay, but it took more effort,
Mm-hmm.
in my path, just because I that's the path I wanted to go. So I was encourage people in that way. I'm like, you don't have to be the best of
Right.
the
If
best,
if if
but
you if you put your mind to it, you can actually do it.
exactly. I just had a couple of hurdles, but
Right.
to go through, and that's so. But that is exactly where my what steered my path.
Right. But you didn't
you know.
let whatever some of those little things get in the way because you wanted to do it. Your family, your father believed in you. He put it in your mind to go ahead
Yes,
and
yes.
think about doing something like that. And then you saw what happened to your mom. So I can clearly see why this is definitely something that became very important to you. Also, as a Nigerian, and not also just a Nigerian, but being an immigrant also. I have an immigrant background myself by just the
Uh-huh.
way I speak. I come to the United States by way of the Caribbean, um, from a small island called Dominica. And Caribbean parents, I'm not saying parents from the United States don't have the same
Mm-hmm.
expectations, but
Mm-hmm.
immigrants on a whole, there are certain expectations that they have. And I know, I mean, I don't know if that's a stereotype, but I know I've listened to some comedians and I've listened, um, your parents always, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be this, and you're going to be that, and there are certain things that they just wouldn't accept. So how did that play into you, following that path as well? Did that encourage you even more?
I think it did, but this is how my dad explained it. I would have probably share my dad's story with you. Um, so my dad would tell us, I think what I tell people and what I noticed and what he taught me was that, and I think the reason why the immigrant parent is that way is that
Mm-hmm.
he said to me, he said, you may be able to do anything you want in your life, but
Mm-hmm.
in this society, there are only certain things that you will do that will make you progress, because there are
Right.
certain things that society is not able to support or not able to you cannot progress, so you'd have to choose from these five things, because that's the only way you can get ahead in
Mm-hmm.
this society. And
Right.
that may be extremely different when you go somewhere else in another part of the world. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is the drive for
Mm-hmm.
most immigrant parents,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're growing up in the different part of the world. In America, there's a lot more choices in terms
Right.
of professions,
Opportunities and options.
opportunities and professions, but that's
Yes,
not available in other parts of the world. And
that's
I
a
think
very
that's
good
the
point.
mindset. That
Mm-hmm.
is a mindset. So my father, and he never let us forget this. He
Mm-hmm.
told us that he came from a very poor background.
Mm.
He was a son of a fisherman. Was fisherman's son, and in his family, they lived from day to day. Whatever they could sell, that's what they had to eat. But earlier on, he kind of got introduced into the value of education,
Mm.
and even though he was some part of his life working as a house servant, at the end of the day, he spent time studying with his oil lamps, from what he would tell us. But
Mm-hmm.
he spent that much time and he gave it all he had, and he was able to get a scholarship,
Nice.
because of his was able to get his scholarship to go abroad and study law.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended
Oh.
up being the first person in his family. Yeah, because he got a scholarship, he did well. So he was like, if I did not have an education, you will
Mm.
not be here. You would not have this opportunity
Right.
because I grew up more privileged than other people, but because my
Right.
dad had this opportunity to go ahead and study law, and he came back and and made a difference in his society,
Mm-hmm.
and with his family. Where
Right.
else would we be if he wasn't there? So for him, education was everything. But he also knew that in that society, there were only a few professions that would help you, that would set you apart,
And
so that is the immigrant story, and that's usually why most immigrant parents would insist or would encourage
mm-hmm,
certain professions,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Because I think it's also important to also state that this is an opportunity of a lifetime. This probably wouldn't have happened if you didn't have this opportunity to explore and to do things that you probably wouldn't be able to get the opportunity to do from where you come from. So take the advantage and do the best you can so you can set a future not only for yourself but your children and future generations to come. So I like that
Absolutely.
myself. So Dr. Ensler, you said you came to the United States and then you did your residency in Worcester. What really made you move to Dot House Health after your residency? What is it about Dot House? And tell us a
Oh,
story about what got you to Dot House.
oh, daughter's health. So I think that I think I wanted to work in an with in an inner city. That's number
Mm-hmm.
one. I wanted to work in an underserved population, in an
Nice.
underserved area. I felt that, like I said, from my upbringing, where I came from, I felt like I had a quite a privileged background, and
Mm-hmm.
that was because of the status of my parents,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
that's not where this how they started. But then again, even though I had all those opportunities, they were able to sponsor my education at all levels.
Mm-hmm.
I was surrounded by other people who didn't have. So I
Oh.
knew that
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a place where I was surrounded by by um, by poverty, by people who lacked opportunity, lacked money for healthcare, and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
so but so 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 after I finished my training, I wanted to work in an area where I know that a little bit um, goes a long way. That a little bit of increasing awareness,
Mm-hmm.
in the minds and lives of a patient would go a long way in changing their lives. And yeah, and that's why I came to that house.
Yes,
That's why I
and
came to
and
that house. Mhm.
there are, and we'll talk about that as we go along, but you are so loved. Based on some of the
Mhm.
things that I've learned about you, some of the research I've done myself, and by talking to people who really know you, I didn't know you, but I loved you even before I met you because the things that I heard about you,
Oh
it
wow.
just I was like, I want to meet this person. So let's go into some of as a physician working in a community health facility, and what was that experience like? And again, coming from a different country, understanding you the privilege that you have and the opportunities that you have, but you still have the presence to say, this is an opportunity for me to give back to the community. And what was that experience like for you when you started working at Dot House Health?
I think so when I worked at Dot House Health, I had to adjust myself too,
Mm,
because although I'm an immigrant, I came from a community where everybody spoke English because that's
mm-hmm,
like, but I had to also come into a place where I had to deal with people from different
mm-hmm,
multiple backgrounds,
right.
and the demographics were changing, and the
Mm-hmm,
language was, a lot of people had English was not their first language, so that was the one adjustment to make, and trying to understand their cultural background and how they interpret their health or accept their health. So it's a
interesting.
big learning curve,
Mm-hmm,
to work with, to be effective with in developing. I think a physician has to develop a relationship with somebody to make a difference in their lives. Patients
right.
come to you, they're at their most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm,
They're very vulnerable, the most vulnerable positions, and and some guardedness too, and they come with so much, so many experiences that shape them, in
right.
one way or the other. But but it's a kind of it's just a privilege to have somebody come in and share certain things with you.
Mm-hmm.
But if your role is to help, if my role was to help, my role was to make a difference, I had to understand that background. I
You're
felt like I
right.
had to immerse myself in some of the cultures
Mm-hmm.
that I came to meet at the Dot House Health,
Mm-hmm.
understand some of them, and so that I understand where those patients come from.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big learning, process for me as well. I think that also uh, being coming face to face with the challenges that working there meant in the lives of people, how their lives are, what's affecting them, the lack of resources, or when you have a plan, there's the lack of resources to follow through with that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those were all adjustments. So yeah, I'm not sure if I have specifics, but it was an adjustment for me, and I had to do that.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been working at Dot House Health?
At 23 years, I would say.
Oh, so you have a lifetime at this organization. So there's a lot of history
Absolutely.
that you can
A
share.
lot of history.
So one of the things that I have learned, I have met people who were former patients of yours. And the things that I've been told about you, oh, I miss Dr. Henshaw so much. And because of the kind of care that you provided to some of these patients, and some of them were a bit older, and they really miss the kind of care that they got from you. I actually met a particular patient of yours that I had an opportunity to speak with, and she said, you know what I miss the most is the little things that she did. Like if a patient came in and they had some test results or some issues that was wrong, at the end of the day, no matter what, I always got a call from Dr. Ensa to explain everything. You made people feel comfortable. And one of the
Mm.
things that I also learned is that you talk about you work in urgent care right now, but you also work in family medicine and you will actually seeing patients. But when you make that transition, we can talk about that now. Patients
Mhm.
actually followed you to urgent care, which is not a place where they can have that one-on-one interaction with you because they didn't want to be seen by anyone else. They wanted to see you. And I think that probably
Right.
created some friction. So can you talk about your transition from family care to urgent care and what happened there? I think it's important for people to know,
Oh,
you know?
sure,
You
sure,
know?
sure. Yeah. So you know what? I think progress and Dorchester House. When I came into Dorchester House, I'm actually doing internal medicine, not family
Oh,
medicine.
family med.
So I say
Okay.
adults. It's internal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to Dorchester House, it was much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
A much smaller health center. And over the years, it's grown and increased and evolved. So I was a primary care provider, and I had my own panel of patients, that
Mm-hmm.
I was responsible for that. And just and that's how the relationships were formed.
Mm-hmm.
But Dorchester House has expanded over time, and like you said, I started with internal medicine, but family medicine department was added. So many specialties have
Right.
been added to help serve a population. And I think about 2011 or so, the an urgent care was added, to
Okay.
the Dorchester
So
House.
so
So
Dot House Health, it used to be Dorchester House, but today
Dorchester
it is
House.
known as Dot House Health, and it's a lot bigger healthcare facility, and like you said, with so many different specialties. And
Specialties and departments.
right.
Yes, 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 yes.
So you worked with patients for a while and then you moved and your patients didn't like that.
Yes, so but I can speak to that too.
Yes.
I can speak to that. So it was more of a need. So
Hmm.
when the health center started an urgent care setting, and I think part of it was just, you know, in terms of just, I think it was part of accommodating the needs of patients as well,
Right. Hmm.
because primary care appointments can take up to 3 months. Same
Right.
day visits were not available to the patient, so there was a need to have a same day visit to see patients that had an urgent problem that did not could not wait for a week or 5 weeks. So that urgent care was started, and not with new staff. It was they had to use the staff that were already available. So I had to split
Okay.
my time between primary care and urgent care. So
Right.
that's what I did for a few years. But then the urgent care then expanded, and I was spending more time.
In urgent care.
It was had to juggle both.
Right.
So I had to, yes, I was doing a lot more urgent care than
Mm-hmm.
not everybody was doing it. Not everybody wanted to do it. So I was one of those that did the urgent care. So it was quite difficult to do both, and it made sense to spend switch to urgent care where most of
So
my
you
time
made
was
that
being spent.
transition to urgent care because of the
I
need.
did.
Yeah.
It was a need at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was a need at the time.
So let's talk about the patients that were coming to you to get care that were not really urgent because you're
Yes,
no
yes,
longer
yes.
doing that one-on-one as an internal medicine would allow you to
Yes.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think care of patients, you take care of patients everywhere,
Right.
you know. And I had patients that for us we can talk about the transitions and why, but
Mm-hmm.
in a patient's heart, when they come in, they want to see somebody for a
Right.
reason. So of course, I do understand that, and I did accommodate patients when they came and did everything they needed to do at the time for
Right.
them. And
Mm-hmm.
some would never change. I mean, you
Right.
can't change an 85-year-old,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but I I did have the patients that came in, and that's just because they trusted, just
Right.
the trust and
Mm-hmm.
relationship,
Relationship, that's
and yeah,
important. Yeah.
relationship. So yes, so we did accommodate them, but patients also learned over time. I told I would share with patients that medicine changes a lot. Before, now it's so different. Like before, if you had a doctor and you went into a hospital for admission, that doctor would see you in the hospital. So you
Mm-hmm.
had the same doctor whom would see you in the outpatient. When you got admitted in the hospital, they came in and saw you in the hospital when you
Right.
got admitted. But medicine has changed. And that's your doctor may not be the one that sees you if you had to be in the hospital for admission. And patients
Right.
have when that transition came, some people had a hard time. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one of our providers who's been in the Dorchester House for a lot longer. When that transition came, her patients had a difficult time. When I would go to see them in the hospital, like, well, I want to see Dr. Lunsford.
Right.
I'm like, no, this is how the system was. So patients have had to adjust and
Right.
change over time as well.
Mm-hmm.
So accepting to see other people for different things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been just educating patients, about
Mm-hmm.
how the healthcare system has changed to best accommodate needs,
Right.
and it's not an abandonment,
Right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and so that it was more also meeting patients where they were and explaining, how the role of my role has changed with the health center, and what that meant for when they
Mm-hmm.
had need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
so that's I thank you for for going over that. Now you
yes.
again you've been at the same facility and I think you've done work at other healthcare facilities too because I went in my research I found some reviews online about you and some of the patients you saw all of the reviews were following the same theme that you were awesome, that you cared, that you made them feel that you really wanted to help them. And there was one person who said when you work, I think you work at a facility in Norwood, and someone was
Right.
saying that um you were there part-time and I just wish she was there full-time because you helped that person to diagnose what was going them with them instantly and whatever you suggested exactly what you say and they went and they do it and that person felt better. And I think there's a theme: people love you, people adore you, and I think it's good to have those traits as a physician because I don't want to go to a doctor and feel like I'm just a number. So I really liked that about you. And I know you were saying that you're saying that and you're very, you're very humble in the way that you're presenting yourself, and that's the kind of person that you are. But Dr. Nsa, I probably, if I were to have speak with some of your colleagues, and you always have a smile. You always present yourself in such a inviting way. Anytime I see you, I have never seen you with any unpleasantness. You have such good energy, and the fact that you're mentioning that you're spiritual, so the spiritual foundation is also another way that it can help you to maintain your sanity and to keep yourself grounded, like yourself. So it's interesting that you would say that. So and I think that is true, because I am also in that same, that spirituality is also important to helping you to keep yourself in a sane space. So
Absolutely.
I think, and especially during the pandemic, with the volume that was coming in to urgent
Right,
care,
right, right,
how
right,
did
right.
you and your the other physicians in urgent care, what did you do to manage that patient flow? And especially it was coming in for something that was different than what you would normally get. So how did you manage to deal with the COVID patients and the patients who were coming in for real urgent matters, other urgent matters that you would normally deal
Yeah,
with?
I think the pandemic was just a curveball, and it was very challenging for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think nobody was totally prepared for what we got, right?
Right.
And also, it was changing so much every
Mm-hmm.
time, that everybody had to be flexible. And I think I have to say that it was probably one of the most stressful times,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that I have had, um, having to work, because especially working in urgent care when the pandemic hit, most of primary care closed down except urgent care. So
Right.
telehealth, everybody else was doing telehealth, but you had to be in the urgent care. You had to be there,
Mm-hmm.
face with the patients, and I I think it was extremely stressful, because we have a walk-in clinic. It's not a
Right.
scheduled clinic, so the volume was intense, and everybody was either sick or scared,
Because
and
this is
and you'd
something
have to
that you
deal
don't
with
know
that.
how to deal with. This is something
I
that
don't
is.
know how to deal with. Yeah, I had to deal with, but I think looking at when you think about, I think it definitely took a mental toll on the staff,
Mm-hmm.
and teamwork had became extremely important to us, and
Right.
I valued, and that was, and I felt really, really, really honored that I worked with a team of people who were extremely supportive of one another. And
Mm.
the second thing that I knew was that, as for me as a provider, in spite of everything, you have to keep the morale because
Right.
everybody is also stressed. Worrying about, I think we all worried about what are we going to take home,
Mm.
every day because we're dealing with sick patients.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we going to take home? Are we putting our own families, at risk
At risk.
and working and also having to be in personal protective equipment all day long,
Mm.
without breaks. And that's a physical toll, So the
Yeah.
morale, and we kept getting a huddle every day with the team, just in terms of this is what is happening, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna, run the day today.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? We have strength, we have stamina, we have stability. Just that morale,
Mm-hmm.
was helpful,
Mm-hmm.
for us, and checking in on each other. And I think everybody was mentally exhausted, and with it. But I also we also knew that I knew that besides us, the patients were also exhausted,
Right.
So, but what helped me, was the same attitude of, when I look at somebody, when I look at a patient, I do see my father in every elderly
Ah, it
person.
goes back.
My mother, my mother, my
Mm-hmm.
siblings, those, because they have parents, they have
Right.
children,
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah, so that so with everything going on, you still focus on, okay, this person that you're in front of me, you don't feel well. This is my father. I need to take care of him.
Right.
So every day it's a daily walk, it's a daily
Mm-hmm.
process. Can't disagree. It's extremely challenging, but that's part of taking care of people.
Right. And that's
Yes,
what urgent care will bring to you. So
yes,
now
yes.
you are, and you can probably address this because I don't know all the information about this question I'm gonna ask you, but you are the only black, not only the only black woman physician, but you're the only black physician at Dot House Health. How do you feel about that? And considering that the community that you are in serves a large black and brown patient population.
Um, I I think that I have I think throughout my career in the United States, I probably have been the only one or one or the other one. There haven't been that many,
Yeah, we
where
have a lot of those.
in the places that I have been.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would love to give up my seat for. I would love
What?
to see more people. I believe that let's picking up Dorchester House. I think Dorchester House. I'm not aware that any black or brown person has applied to come into Dorchester House.
Okay.
I think we're looking, and
Yeah.
we want people to come in. We're looking, we want people. We really would love to have more diversity, more
Mm-hmm.
black and brown people coming into Dorchester House to work, and that would be, oh my goodness, it would be great. So actually a few years ago, I would say maybe before the pandemic, the Dot House partnered with I forget the name now, but they were mentoring. We had to mentor high
Mm-hmm.
school Boston high school students who were thinking of a career in medicine.
Ah.
And they would come
Mm-hmm.
in, yes, and spend time with providers,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all African American, girls. There were two girls and I think there was a boy. So there have been efforts, over the
Mm-hmm.
years just to expose the community,
Mm-hmm.
to encourage people to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Um,
no, the reason I asked that question is because you said, and it's a good response when you said, I'm not sure if they are applying to come to work or do residency at Dot House Health. But it's just interesting that also interesting that they are not coming. So I'm just wondering why that is so, and I don't know what the reason is. But I just wanted to talk to you on those points. And being the only Black physician on staff, what was that experience like for you?
yeah, I believe that. I mean, I can speak. I'm trying to think about um and I have had residents that have come through that were African
Mm-hmm.
American, that
Okay.
came through the resident program when I used to do residency training. Part of the
Mm-hmm.
training definitely did mentor residents that came through for 4 years. They had, monthly clinics here at the
Mm-hmm.
Dot House for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, they did not apply to come to Dorchester
Mm-hmm.
House. Um, I have to say that I'm thinking now at other health centers in the Boston. They do have some in Codman Square. They do have some in
Mm-hmm.
Whittier Street.
Right.
And for my residents that came through, my understanding was, especially when it comes to internal medicine, a lot of them went into specialties.
Okay.
So the I part of it is also attracting attracting um, attracting Black and Brown doctors into primary care, and that's a
Right.
big challenge.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a big challenge. So yeah, so that's that. But being the only Black person there, I I would like company, believe me. I would love company. Um, but I think I feel I think it's a responsibility,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you do have patients or people that, whether you like it or not, they do look up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you are the person that probably, I feel I would be the person that probably will make a way for others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My impact, my performance, will break
Mm-hmm.
that ceiling for another person that's
Mm-hmm.
coming. May
Mm-hmm.
not be in the next year or two, um but that's what you one must always remember,
Mm-hmm.
so I represent a lot more
Mm-hmm.
others that are going to come behind me,
Right.
so that's the way I look at it,
Mm-hmm. I mean, no,
that's
I
the way I
mean,
look at
and I think this is an opportunity for us now for those who are listening that may want to get into that field, Dr. Answer, especially people who are looking to places that they probably want to go and do their residency or want to get into law. They're in college and they're making those decisions. What would you say? What kind of advice would you give people to come to Dot House Health and to work with people like you to be like because I was listening to um, a podcast where a physician was talking about she had like 300 mentees and a lot of people reach out to her on social media because sometimes there's this microaggression and there's so many different things that some of these students have to go through and sometimes they feel like it's almost like people make them feel like they do not belong there. What advice can you give people so that they are not discouraged and to encourage them and inspire them to no matter what, there is a place for you and there's a need for you? Because for me, I feel comfortable. um, I know a lot of people feel comfortable in going to a provider or a physician who look like them. There is some comfort level there. There's some trust that you can instantly build because you feel like this person will understand you. What can you say to people who are thinking of going into this field, thinking of even starting their own practice? What can they take from that and encouraging Black physicians to mentor those that are coming up?
Yeah, I think everybody needs to be represented. I think it's important to, when you walk into a clinic, to see people that look like you. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
represented.
Mm-hmm.
You should not feel like you're it's important.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say we need you. We need, people. We need women in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
We need Black and brown people in medicine, because you're the best person to relate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and especially females too, where natural leaders, multitaskers,
Mm-hmm.
organizers, you care for cousins, family, you already have the skills needed.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
believing, knowing that you already have the skills that are needed um, to um, to succeed. And as a professional coming into medicine, you will be a natural leader, and it's important to believe in yourself. Is it easy? No, but you're surrounding yourself. I always tell people, surround yourself with mentors,
Mm-hmm.
mentors that um, will guide you through or would advise when you meet a roadblock,
Mm-hmm.
um, knowing what to expect, that you will have microaggression, but that's not it, but knowing exactly how to respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also being able to when people feel like, educate when people don't understand your role. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
there are people who genuinely don't understand your role.
Right.
Being able to educate and also being able to respond to microaggression. So that's where arming yourself with mentors and not being isolated.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
You mentioned earlier that you probably in most of the places that you've worked, you probably were almost the only Black person. Black physician. Um, when you were going throughout your career, who inspired you? Who mentored you through your residency, and even, as you get into you building your status as a physician? Who inspired you? Who mentored you through those process?
I coming in as an immigrant is difficult,
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
think I came in quite rooted in, from where I came,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but also I'd have a healthy connection with other immigrant Nigerian doctors
Ah.
yes, who have gone through this and are practicing. So yes, so um I would depend or ask or lean on them when I
Mm-hmm.
needed assistance, or, had a question,
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I had those,
So you had connections, you had people who were more advanced, and so you could look to them and get the kind of advice that would help you to become the kind of physician that you are today.
I think I learned from them,
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
learned from them because they shared, and also just to guide in the career path,
Mm-hmm.
um, what to look for, how to balance the work and the paperwork and the insurance work and the
Mm-hmm.
which is,
Right.
not it's not really romantic, it's bad.
The workload,
Yeah,
the
you
not
get
the
you get
caring part is good, but then
it's
you have to do your
different.
encounters, you have to do all the reporting and all that
Yes,
stuff.
so
That's the
you're
other
not,
part.
yes, it can be,
Mm-hmm.
it can become disillusioned at times, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where that's where you get, the whole, network, there. Um, yeah, so those I leaned on those. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So, so what's next for you? I mentioned earlier throughout our conversations that you also practice at other healthcare facilities.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
I I heard something. I don't know if it's true. Are
mhm,
you
mhm.
are you leaving that house? Is that
Oh,
true?
I am not leaving that house. I am not leaving that house. I have, I love that house. So
Okay.
I'm not leaving that house, but frankly, I have I've cut back my sessions over the years.
Okay.
And yes, and the last 2 years, I mean, this is I am backing, reducing my sessions.
Okay.
So that's the best way I can put it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's been a plan for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's not anything new. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason is really my commute. My commute is an hour
Right.
and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, wow.
I've had to, yes, I've had to back, reduce my sessions there,
Mm-hmm.
for my physical well-being.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yes, so
are you doing sessions elsewhere that is like closer to where
I
you live?
have, yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like what you had mentioned that I was doing a little bit of per diem, closer, like 20 minutes from where I live,
Mm-hmm.
which is a
Mm-hmm.
little bit healthier for me and a little
Right.
bit easier. But that those changes will have to occur, over time. Yes. So that is the main reason. So
Mm-hmm.
so yes, I will be, cutting back my session. I'll try to do a few more weekends because the commute is a little bit easier on weekends
Mm-hmm.
than weekdays at the dot house.
What
Yeah,
is
at the
what
dot
is
house.
the thing that is most rewarding to you as a physician?
The most rewarding thing is, I think that making a patient making a difference in a patient's life
Making a
is the most
difference in a
important
patient's
thing.
life. Yeah.
Is the most important thing. Um, Most important thing. And yeah, that's the most rewarding thing for me. Yeah.
Has any of your children shown any interest in medicine?
um, one,
Okay.
one, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have I have three children. I
Mm-hmm.
have two girls and a boy.
Right.
My son is autistic. So that's
Okay.
been some part of my challenge in,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
balancing my work and my home life. But my two girls, my oldest daughter is in the healthcare, but not she's not interested in being a physician,
But she's in
but
healthcare.
yeah, but she's in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest is in college and
Mm-hmm.
will probably go into healthcare as well. So
Oh, okay. So you
yeah,
have some
but like I
influence
said,
there.
but they will follow their path.
Right, right,
They'll follow their path and not necessarily being a physician,
right. Mm-hmm.
so they will follow their
I
path.
mean, and if they
Mhm.
want it to be, I mean, they have a perfect example in you. You've been there and you can guide them if that is something that they want to do. But I like the fact that you say you will allow them to follow their path.
They will follow their path.
What, Dr. Ansel, what would people be surprised to know about you? I'm sorry, I
Surprised
had
to
to put
know
this one
about
in there. Yes.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I love to dance.
Ooh, oh my God, I would like to see that. Yeah, that sounds
Uh,
interesting and that sounds like fun. Yeah.
I love to dance. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. What
I'm just
else?
I'm
I
just trying
have
to I'm just trying to
no
picture you dancing.
idea.
You
Yes.
better know how to dance because where you come from, I mean, you have like Nigeria is probably the way you guys have the way that you dance. Oh my God. And it's taking over the world. Your culture is invading the world. So you better know how to dance.
In a good way, I hope.
No,
In a
no,
good way.
in a good way. I mean, there are a lot of, I mean, the movies, you can tell there are so many things that,
Absolutely,
yeah, so
absolutely.
that's what
Yeah,
I
they're
mean.
positive.
The
They are really
The
positive.
Jerusalem song, you see what it did over the world, and everybody's, you know, doing those dances now. You see it all over on American television. So
It's
the
good.
Nigerian culture is taking over.
It's good. It's a
Right.
global world. So, but I think my next steps will be giving back.
Giving back.
My
Yeah.
next step has been giving back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Giving back in a few ways. I am I am very interested and passionate about medical missions.
Mm.
And that's one thing maybe people would know about me. Very
Mm-hmm.
passionate about medical missions. And I currently have been working and trying to, in fact, before the pandemic, going back to Nigeria, going back to my hometown
Oh,
village,
nice.
and partnering with a close friend to
Mm.
provide HPV vaccination to young girls that
Oh.
to prevent cervical cancer. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the big mission
Mm-hmm.
that was interrupted by the pandemic, but hopefully
Mm-hmm.
we'll pick up after that. Raising mental health awareness, so that's
Oh, that's a big
giving
one.
back. Yes, and I think that the the most recent one that's well, it's ongoing is a memorial in my father's name.
Mm.
So, and that is what we're doing is trying to sponsor the poorest child in the village through
Mm-hmm.
school,
Right.
through school, and doing that annually. Mhm.
So you through when we started, you talk about your dad. We are closing and you're talking about your dad.
Yes.
I am not even gonna guess. I am going to say that your dad had a big influence on you. And as a physician, as someone that may be listening, there is someone that's influencing you to help put you on a path. What
Mhm.
kind of advice can you give to encourage people who want to pursue this line of work, who have that caring spirit and want to do that? And you know, sometimes you may not know where you're going, but if you have someone in your life that is guiding you, sometimes, you know, listen and see what that person might be seeing in you that you may not see about yourself. What could you share to those who might want to get into medicine and not know, okay, I'm not sure this is something I want to do because this is what someone is telling me, but someone might be seeing something in you that you may not see in yourself. Can you talk about that?
I think what I would say is if it's something you think you want to do, um, go for it. I think you have opportunities to shadow,
Mm-hmm.
to go and shadow and work and observe um, how people do those things, and
Mm-hmm.
see if it's really for you. Volunteer,
Yes.
volunteer in that area. Volunteers are needed everywhere. Try to
Yes.
volunteer that you will
Mm-hmm.
immerse yourself without being responsible for everything.
Mm-hmm.
um, so you would never know until you get in there,
Mm-hmm.
so if your heart is in it, if you have the passion, for that, that's a good place to start. Try to volunteer in a hospital,
Mm-hmm.
volunteer in a healthcare setting, and then shadow people, and most people in healthcare always looking for people who are interested. And
Mm-hmm.
when you get in there, you will find a couple of people
Mm-hmm.
who you might be your mentors.
Right. That's
Yes, might be your
important.
mentors. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's what I would say.
Well, Nsa, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoy talking with
It
you
was
today.
lovely. Yes.
Yeah, you see, I talk about that
It was
smile.
lovely.
You see that smile? That smile is what people love, and it opens people up to trust because you have such a nice, warm, friendly personality. I am so
Thank
happy that
you.
I had the opportunity to do this with you today. And if people want to connect with you, can they reach out to you at that house, or someone who's probably looking for a physician that they would like to be mentored by, or maybe give them some kind of advice about pursuing medicine? Can people reach out to you at that house if they wanted to?
I would love to advise,
Mm-hmm.
direct,
Mm-hmm.
and assist in any way I can,
Mm-hmm.
and encourage anybody who wants,
You're right.
to care for their fellow human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they can reach me at Dot House. They can reach me through you.
Okay.
You have my contact information.
Right. Mm-hmm. Most
Absolutely.
definitely. Most definitely. Dr. Ensa,
Absolutely.
this has been.
I want to say that I've had mothers who
Mm-hmm.
I've seen as patients
Mm-hmm.
who have asked me to talked about their children. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, and I've given them my number. I'm like, call me,
Right. Mm-hmm.
email me, have them
Mm-hmm.
email me. I'm happy to talk to them.
I think
So
I
yes, every opportunity.
I
Yes.
think I think you would be an excellent mentor. Because I haven't heard one person said one negative thing about you. It's all good. Patience, your colleagues. You are a wonderful person, and I hope people take the opportunity to reach out to you if they're interested, or looking to get advice, not only for themselves, but their children or family
Exactly.
members that may want to pursue but don't know how to get about doing that. And you are someone I think that would be perfect to guide them into that direction. So, Dr. Answer,
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I am so happy that you took the
Yeah.
opportunity to come on here. I wanted to do this with you for a while, and your schedule has been so busy, but I'm happy that we were able to do this today. Thank you so much for your time, and
Thank
I wish
you.
you all the
Really.
best with your missions. And
Yes.
I know the people that are going to benefit from that would be so blessed to have you.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
you,
This
you are
was
most welcome,
good.
Dr. Ensa. I truly enjoy this time
Thank
talking to you.
you. Thank you.